Yes, sir. We are back for another live episode of the Eric Crocker Show. And this time we are going to be recapping week 2 of the San Francisco 49ers training camp. What has it looked like? Who has stood out? There's been a lot of conversation about the quarterback position. We're not only going to talk about the quarterbacks, but some defensive players who I think are standing out and should get some notoriety. A receiver who might be a bit of a sleeper, a guy who's very, very interesting. We're going to get into all that and more on this show. And any questions that y'all have about training camp, I hope everybody's having a great day. I hope everybody's been enjoying a lot of the content that's being put out there by a lot of great guys. Again, this show is powered and sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Go to Underdog Fantasy right now, download the app, or go download the app or go to underdogfantasy.com and use promo code Crocky. All right, promo code Crocky. I got one of my daughters making a guest appearance here. You want?
I want to see the comments.
Okay, well the comments are about to come right now. Do you want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Say hi.
Hi,
Now, do you want to tell them who you are?
I'm Shane
All right, what's your last name?
Crocker.
Okay. Then we got another Crocker here. What's your name?
Dylan
All right, Dylan. They know you by something else. What do you think they know you by?
Pickle
And then what's your last name?
Cracker.
All right, there we go. They're my big girls. Okay, now you guys can go play. All right. We're gonna get into some football stuff. Shout out to the Crocker girls making a guest appearance here. We got Manly Shavers. Manly Shavers. All right. Five Flames. He's feeling good. We got Gammon in the chat. What's up, Gammon? Gammon feeling good. He's asking what's for dinner. I don't know, man. Some hamburger helper or something. I don't know. What is for dinner tonight? I know what's for dinner for the San Francisco 49ers, man, especially that defense, man. They're eating offenses up, man. The 49ers defense, they've had some standouts, all right? And the standouts have been some of the guys on the defensive line. Look, we know that Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, I'm definitely going to reference him, and some of these secondary guys, they're going to make plays. But I definitely want to give a shout out to Javon Kinlaw first. Javon Kinlaw has, I don't know about y'all, but kind of been written off, right? I mean, me included. I think I've kind of written him off as well. And he's right now like, Croc, why you write me off, man? Or what he said? What did Geno Smith say? They tried to write me off. I ain't right back. So I think that's where Kinlaw is right now. First of all, he's taking the field. He's wearing these shades, kind of look like Biggie Smalls. Maybe they're Versace. You know what I'm saying? He got 13th, 14th overall pick. Got a lot of money. All right. So they're not Ray Bans. You feel me? You got the Versace or the Gucci. All right. But he's going through warm ups and those, and you can tell he's feeling good. I watched him Monday in one-on-ones and just destroying guys, wrecking shop, winning every rep. I mean, talking about 5 straight one-on-ones, just destroying guys. He's been a problem, pushing the pocket back between him. You got Javon Hargraves, he's disrupting stuff as well. So those two guys, and again, I kind of wrote off Kinlaw as someone who was going to just be this big, impactful guy. I was just like, you know what? Whatever you get from Kinlaw, that's good. Like, that's a plus. Not expecting a whole lot. But the way camp has been going for him so far, and camp for some guys it can be kind of be up and down, but and again, you don't want to put a whole lot of stock in the camp, but you got to put something in it, right? Like guys are out there and who's doing things. And I would say that Javon Kinlaw, most people would agree, he's definitely taking a step in the right direction. His biggest issue isn't that he just can't play. I think Kinlaw's biggest issue has been he hasn't been healthy. He's had the knee injury. He's trying to play through the knee injury. That's been tough as well. So if we're talking about having a healthy version of Javon Kinlaw, like what does that look like? And I think since he's been with the 49ers and been in the NFL, like we just don't know. So right now, he's looking good. He's looking lean. He's looking strong. He's bullying guys. He's wearing the Biggie small shades on the field. I think he's feeling good. And we are looking to see, man, the quarterbacks, and we'll get to those guys, but the quarterbacks and some of the receivers, and you have all these other players that we're interested in seeing and who's going to make a splash, who's going to make the rock. Javon Kinlaw might be the most intriguing guy because of where he was drafted, the potential that he has, and the reasons why he maybe hasn't been as good as we would hope. And I do think that it's all surrounding the injuries that he's had, specifically the knees. So if he's past that and everything's good, he should be awesome. Now, we have talked to some people. Again, I've said this before. My name is Eric Crocker, former NFL and AFL defensive back, not Eric Crocker, Dr. Crocker. All right. But from some of the people that I've spoken to, it sounds like some of the knee injuries or issues that he's having are things that are chronic, like not going away. So hopefully they are going away. He looks like there's no issues with the knee. He's feeling good, and I hope that continues that way because right now, if he's good, watch out because now we're talking about a defensive line who just off rip, right? Nick Bosa, whenever he signs, Drake Jackson, we're gonna get to him in a minute. Armstead, Hargraves, and then it's like, okay, well, the rotation guys, Cleveland Farrell. Farrell, he got in trouble on Monday for knocking the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands. You do not touch the quarterbacks in practice. And this is not a 49er thing because Brock Purdy's coming off an injury. That is every team I've been a part of. Almost every team. My college coach was kind of crazy. Coach Dwayne Matthews, my junior year at the university, he was a little crazy. We had a scrimmage and he said, knock some motherfuckers' heads off, including the quarterbacks. And I don't care if there's a head in the helmet. Like he was tripping. All right. But most coaches, right, don't touch the quarterback at all during practice. And Farrell touched the quarterback. Now, the silver lining there is he got to the quarterback, right? It was 4th and 2, and they were doing the situational football, and he beat the guy out. He beat the tackle. I want to say it was more off the edge because it was the ones, and he got to the quarterback. Don't touch him, but it was good to see him get there. So when you got the Cleveland Farrell, and he's doing some things, and you got Drake Jackson, and he's looking good, and you got all these just other rotation guys. I mean, we haven't even mentioned guys like Givens. All right, so if you add Javon Kinlaw to that mix, we are talking about very good, deep defensive line. And I'm not expecting Kinlaw to have 12 sacks, 6 sacks, 8 sacks. But if he can just contribute and be good at something, that's been my thing. I think so far with Kinlaw in the NFL, he hasn't been necessarily great. Like, oh man, he's gonna get pushed out of there. So he's not strongest to run, but man, he's a hell of a pass rusher. It's like, well, no, he hasn't been great at pass rushing, and he hasn't been great at stopping the run. Kind of get pushed out of there a little bit. All right. So if he continues what he's been doing right now throughout training camp and being that guy, I think the 49ers be pretty good. I think the 49ers be pretty good. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff, and download Underdog Fantasy promo code Crocker. We got some fantasy stuff about to jump off. Can't wait for all of that. The next guy I want to talk about is Drake Jackson because he's very important to the 49ers defensive line. And he's been looking good so far in camp as well. 49ers right now, the fans, everyone's clamoring to know who is going to be that bookend opposite Nick Bosa when Bosa signs. All right. And right now it's looking like, Drake Jackson's like, I'm up for it. I'm up for it. So I want to see, does he have more of a pass rush plan? Because a lot of times guys coming to the NFL, that's the one thing that they have to start to really work on first. And it takes kind of a minute. Unless you're just this freak, right? Like Von Miller, he was just going to come into the league and just be good because, he had to bend damn near elbow touching the ground as he's bending around that corner, pops up and getting sacks. He was doing that since the time he came to the league. We saw Alden Smith, who Alden Smith was more of if y'all remember his rookie year, Alden Smith's rookie year, he wasn't just the pure 3-down guy. He was more of like, okay, I'm like 3rd down pass rusher guy. And then we saw the sacks that he accumulated that year and then over the next 2 years as well before things kind of, started to kind of get a little weird. Him and Colin Kaepernick and some of the guys. But ultimately, man, you're seeing Drake Jackson, and I hope that he continues to kind of take that next step. Right now, looks like a solid camp for him. You want to see these guys, especially young guys, continue to take their strides in the right direction. All right, we got a comment here. We got John C. says, do we even need to resign Bosa now that we've got Taco Charlton? I'm going to assume that you're joking. Taco Charlton, man, listen. My big brother BJ, he's a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. And Taco Charlton might be, sometimes you pass on something and then you draft a guy and then what that might look like. Do y'all know who was like the very next pick after Taco Charlton? Either the next pick or the pick after that. It would say within the next three picks, Taco Charlton was drafted to Dallas Cowboys to be an edge rusher. Who was drafted three picks later, played the same position? All right. The Dallas Cowboy fans are kicking themselves for that to this day. I don't see nobody in the chat saying it yet. Going once, going twice. Sold. It was TJ Watt. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. You got that out. You got that out before I said it. All right, so Gallup Knox, there we go. He said, what? Yes, TJ Watt. So Dallas Cowboys are kicking themselves for the Taco Charlton pick. I don't even want to imagine the Dallas Cowboys with DeMarco Lawrence and TJ Watt and oh man. And then somehow if they still were able to get Micah Parsons, that would be crazy. All right. But ultimately, they're still kicking themselves over that. So, yeah, 49ers, they did bring in Taco Charlton. He's in camp right now. That's another body there. I'm not going to disrespect him and say he's a camp body. This guy's been in the league for years now. But, you know, what's his role going to be? And that's the biggest thing I look for with all of these guys. What is their role? All right, other guys that have been standing out so far, and don't worry, we're going to get to the quarterbacks and the offensive side of the ball. But Dre Greenlaw, dude is flying around. He looks like the Dre Greenlaw, the guy that made the top 100 list and is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. All right. Dude is legit. Dude is balling. Dude is flying around. And he's secretly becoming one of my favorite players. Now, here's the thing with Dre Greenlaw. I don't care about Greenlaw. Like, I'm not worried about him as a player and what he's going to do on the field. It's really more so about towing that edge. And I kind of compare Dre Greenlaw to Draymond Green. All right. Draymond Green for the Warriors is kind of, he's like that enforcer, right? He's that habitual line stepper. Meaning he's going to do things to toe the line. And even when he does things, he's barking at the refs and he's cussing them out and like they don't care. But you need one of those guys. And I think that's Dre Greenlaw for the 49ers. Like Dre Greenlaw is that line stepper, habitual line stepper. And sometimes it hurts you. All right. There's a lot talked about the Chicago Bears game with the 49ers and how the 49ers lost. And, Trey Lance, how dare you? Dre Greenlaw had a hand in that with his late hits on quarterbacks, giving them first downs. There was one time the 49ers were getting off of the field, but he had a late hit and the Bears ended up scoring on that. So he does some weird stuff sometimes where he just randomly jumps on the pile, grab a guy by the face mask, and it's like, Greenlaw, why did you do that? All right. So I hope that he can tone it down just a little bit. But I always say, man, I want guys that are aggressive, continue to be aggressive. And I hate to turn them down. You want him to be a little bit smarter without losing who he is on the field. Now, off the field, here's a great person. There was a story about how he he went to University of Arkansas and he saved some girl or took her home, not took her home like that, but she was drunk and guys were trying to do something. And then he was nice enough to drop her off, or it's a great story. It came out when he was drafted, but great person off the field. He flips a switch on the field and he turns into the alter ego of whoever Dre Greenlaw. We got to come up with a different name for him. We got to come up with the alter ego name for Greenlaw. All right. But you need guys like that. Just hopefully be just a little smarter. Matter of fact, I'll say this. And somehow the 49ers got these guys. I was talking to my bro Donald about this the other day. The 49ers have these guys that, and I don't know how you get them. They play like Reuben Foster, but they're really nice guys off the field, right? Like Fred Warner. Fred Warner on the field, I watch all the stuff he does. Fred Warner's getting in your face. He's talking trash. He's pointing at you. He's laughing at you pre-snap. I saw him hit somebody, and then he did this army crawl underneath a guy. Then we see the play against the Rams where he's flying over piles and hitting guys. He's turned up. But they're the most amazing people off the field. So I don't know how Kyle and John find these guys. Great job by the staff. But the 49ers are kind of filled with those type of guys who they got that edge that you need, but then they're just really good people. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully they keep getting those type of guys. All right, let's go over to the offensive side of the ball. Some of the guys who I feel like have been, making some waves, doing some really good things, and then we will kind of ease into the quarterback position and talk about that, and just different perspectives and different reports that are out there, what I saw and I'm seeing, and what other people, and just what it looks like. All right. But first, I was very, I don't want to use the word critical. Pickle, would you use the word critical?
Critical?
Yeah. Was I very critical of Ronnie Bell?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know what that means.
Oh, well, critical. It means like, was I, there, how do you explain critical? It means, was I like really hard on him? Like, let's say if you're drawing and then I look at the drawing that and you colored it, and I'm like, look how you colored outside the lines. That's like me being critical of your drawing. So I think I was kind of critical of Ronnie Bell a little bit. Anyways, Ronnie Bell, he he's been looking good. When I say looking good, I mean just I've been watching him run routes. Like listen, I watch all this stuff. So not just, when the play is happening, I'm watching these guys warm up. I'm like, man, he's playing fast. He's getting in out of his breaks. He's looking smooth. He's catching the ball. Like, man, this looks really good from Ronnie Bell. Like, that looks good. Now watch him and he makes a play. Then he makes a catch. Okay. Then you get into team and he catches like 3 straight passes from Sam Darnold. I'm like, okay, Ronnie Bell coming alive. My report originally on Ronnie Bell was that of someone who guys were sitting on his routes. They weren't threatened by his speed, and I'm like, yeah, I see why they like him. He's a tremendous blocker. I felt like if he's going to make the 49ers team, like that's how he's going to make it, by being kind of like this scrappy special teams guy, being physical, blocking guys, like be that guy. Like I got it, but it's not going to be so much for just this, oh man, this great receiver, you're drafting the gym, right? I keep seeing Pickens. What round was George Pickens drafted in? Second or third? I keep seeing Pickens just make like these amazing catches. I'm like, well, there's not going to be Ronnie Bell, right? Like I didn't see that type of skill set. We'll see, maybe, right? But I'm not anticipating that. But then I watch him practice, and I'm like, man, I like how he looks running routes. He's smooth in and out of his breaks. He has nice quickness, settedness, good hands, plucking the ball out the air. Then seeing him as kind of like this safety blanket for Sam Darnold in that third group, just catching the ball, doing the good things. I'm like, man. And then once he's really kind of, and I'm not focused on him as a blocker, but I bet if you were to focus on him blocking the ball, probably look really good as well. So Ronnie Bell, he's definitely somebody that has been standing out to me, just kind of doing the right things to really help himself and give himself an opportunity to make this team. Now, it's not going to be just based on just being a terrific receiver and catching passes from Sam Darnold. He also has to be good on special teams and have value there. So whether he's, a return guy, whether he's running down on gunner, kickoff unit, running down, making tackles, those are going to probably be some of the ways that he's going to have to insert himself onto this 53-man roster as well, and potentially be a guy who dresses up on game day. All right, here we go. We got Daryl right here, 49er Live Smock. He says, "Sup, Croc? Greenlaw only did those things in relation, and I love it. Oh, in retaliation, excuse me. And I love it. He ain't no punk, and he's not going to let those guys get away with it. I will say this: you got to be a little, you gotta be a little retaliation. You can't let somebody get to you and get you off your game. So if that's what you're telling me, you don't want that. You don't want the retaliation stuff. You don't want the guy, getting you off of your game to the point where now I'm grabbing the face mask, or I'm hitting the guy late, or I'm hitting the quarterback late. You got to be smarter than that. So don't let guys get you out of your game. All right. But I like the way he plays. I like guys with an edge. I like guys that toe that line. But you just obviously want to be smart about it. I wasn't that smart about it. If my guy Greg Pinelli was in this chat right now, he'd tell you how I played. And I don't think anybody got flagged more than me my sophomore year in junior college at Modesto Junior College. I'll intercept the ball, run to the sideline, and tell everybody go home, and then the flags will all start flying in, and I'd hit a guy late out of bounds. I did all kind of stupid stuff. The coaches try to make me pay for it. They make me roll. They made me do all kind of stuff, and I wasn't very smart about it. All right, I had to learn. And when I was at the university, I got better with that. And then playing professional football, of course, I continued to get better at that as well. But I always like to have fun. Matter of fact, I fumbled one time. I got a pick. I held the ball in the air, thought I was Deion Sanders, and I ended up fumbling. I actually showed Deion Sanders that video, and Deion was like, "Oh man, I got nothing but love for you." And I was like, "Well, Deion Sanders responded to me. That's pretty cool." I told everyone at Crocker that Brock wasn't going to be ready to start the season. And I said he should start on IR. Listen to me now, believe me later. Jedi, we're going to talk about that. And I'll actually start this right here so we can kind of get to that in a little bit because there are different, I don't want to say narratives going out, but the way that people are kind of viewing those things, the reports on the quarterbacks, just a little different with certain context and whatnot. So we're definitely going to get into that. Last thing I do want to get into before I talk about the quarterbacks, another guy who I think is standing out. There are running backs that are doing well. Elijah Mitchell looks really good. I've been watching him kind of bounce around. Love the way Elijah Mitchell looks. That's not who I want to talk about. Who I want to talk about, who might be a sneaky guy for the 49ers and making this team. And let me pull up this roster real quick. All right, I'm going to pull up the 49ers roster. Here we go. NFL 49ers. Let me go to their depth chart. All right. When you look at the 49ers depth chart right now, you look at the receiver position. You got Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings. Then you got Ray McLeod, Danny Gray. And then you have a sleeper, Chris Conley. And I don't hear people talking about Chris Conley much. All right. But if you kind of if you're not like super focused, if you're not like, let me really look at this guy, you just kind of see him. It's like, is that Brandon Ayuk? And nobody can guard Brandon Ayuk right now. All right, nobody can guard Brandon Ayuk. And I do think that this is what's going on, y'all. I think some of this is going on. I think some of these plays that people think is Brandon Ayuk, I think it's Conley. They look very similar for whatever reason. One guy's wearing number 11, one guy's wearing 17, but they're kind of like their build is similar. Conley, obviously, he's a little taller, but they both have the dreads. They look very similar. So from a distance, sometimes, like depending on your angle, if it happens quick enough, you might think it's Conley. All right. Conley right now, and I think that the way Conley is playing, here's the tough thing. Anytime you are a veteran, come week one, your contract is guaranteed. So it will be harder for a guy like Conley to just make it. He has to just continue to do what he's doing and just like leave him no choice. Like, dude, I'm making plays, I'm catching balls, I'm scoring touchdowns, I'm looking fast, I'm doing all it. Like, God, what more do you want me to do? If he blocks well and has any special teams value, it's over. All right. But some of these younger guys are going to get the opportunity over him first. So like a Ronnie Bell, I'm trying to think of another guy, a Danny Gray, right? Like some of those guys might get more of a chance first. But I'm telling you, man, Conley, I'm not saying he, because we hear all the Trent Sherfield stuff, but Trent Sherfield made the roster, right? That was a guy who they signed from the Arizona Cardinals. He makes the roster, and he scores the first touchdown of the season on pass from Trey Lance, and he didn't have a great year, but he made the 53. He was on the team, right? And I think Conley can be kind of that player for the 49ers. Now, one thing that Trent Sherfield did, he prided himself on learning every single position. So is Conley doing that? Because that makes you more valuable. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. All right. Is he learning every position? I know most of the time coaches want you to, and I think Kyle does. But I remember Trent Sherfield, like he was not there wasn't gonna be any excuse to not put him on the field. Oh, Debo, you go down? I know your position. Oh, you get that? I know your position. Can't you, like, whoever it is, like, bro, I know all your positions. I'm going to play. Is Conley that from like the understanding part? I don't know. But I will tell you this, from just a pure receiver perspective, looks good. He looks good. Running good routes, catching the ball. He's open, scoring touchdowns, up the seam, touchdown, running good routes, catching the ball. Like, he's doing good. So that might be the sleeper. When I started off with the introductory of this show, I talked about a sleeper receiver or a sleeper player. That's the sleeper right there. And nobody's really talking about Chris Conley like that. But I think he's doing very well. And we got Lee Ving here. Lee Ving says Conley is a pro, seems to have lost a little speed. He was more of a speedster when he was coming out, like of course, but I think he's doing well. All right, here we go. Got a super chat from Daryl again. Appreciate the contribution here. He says the old school football though. I miss that, don't you? I do miss old school football. I do miss old school football. Some of y'all was on here when my bro Donald was here and we were live for a while. Donald played an old school brand of football. Like he is the guy who he was going to block his butt off. He was going to catch every pass thrown. Wasn't the fastest guy. Really played a lot like Heinz Ward. Maybe that's because he grew up watching Heinz Ward. He's a Steeler fan. But yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that. I miss the old school football. I do. I do. All right, here we go. Croc, based on these last 4 practices, who would you start week 1, not looking back at last season? What position are you talking about? I can't do that hypothetical. Like you can't do if we're talking about the court. Okay, let's get into it, y'all. If we're talking about the quarterback position, you can't be hypothetical. My wife is cooking in the back. Hopefully, it's not too loud. Hopefully, the mic drowns out some of that noise.
Sorry.
I know, but my mic might drown out some of the noise, babe. So go ahead, continue to cook. If we're talking about the quarterback position, you can't exclude any like context from last season or anything like that. Like you have to include it. You have to include it. We're gonna get to the quarterbacks in a second. Croc, is Braden Willis outplaying Latu? I don't know if he's outplaying them, but because the tight end position, I don't think they're getting a ton of targets like that. But watching them in one-on-ones and just watching them kind of warm up, watching from afar, me, scoping the scene, seeing what it looks like, how they're running routes, who's getting in and out of their breaks. Jordan Willis kind of surprised. Braden Willis. Braden Willis, he's kind of surprising me a little bit with just the way it looks. I talked about Ronnie Bell. So full disclosure. I am very big on movement skills at receiver position, at the tight end position, at the cornerback position. Like movement skills, that's the first thing that I identify when I'm watching the guy. Like, what does it look like when the guy is moving? In and out of his breaks, looking fluid. What takes him too long to get out. Like that's and Braden Willis, I think he moves very well. Braden, he moves very well. So that's one thing I noticed. And I think he moves a little bit better than the two. Now, who's outplaying who? I don't know. Because I don't think I'm paying enough attention to the tight end position in like that battle specifically. But I do like the way that Braden Willis moves around. And when you start to look at versatility, right? Because this is a guy that essentially was kind of like a hybrid. He basically was Oklahoma's Chris Cooley, where it's kind of like I'm a tight end, but I'm like a fullback, so I'm kind of like this H-back position. All right, he's basically kind of like that guy. So I like it. I like his potential. The more you can do, the better. The more you can do, the better. Is it true Brock Purdy injured his ribs / Tampa Bay game? Yeah. So whether it happened in the game or after the game, in the practice, which it's not gonna happen in practice because you're not touching the quarterbacks. Typically, one of the quarterbacks did get touched last Monday practice, but yeah, it might have been the first play. Do y'all remember the first play of that Tampa Bay game? Whether it was the first play, second play, something happened, somebody jumped off sides or something like that. But anyways, that edge rusher came and just crushed Brock Purdy, crushed him. Now I wonder if he hurt his ribs there, but then your adrenaline is kind of going, so you don't really feel it throughout the game. And after the game, it's like, I think this motherfucking rib is broken. All right, I think it's broken. So he played in that Seattle game with a broken rib, and that is tough. That's tough. We knew that something was going on. Obviously, I didn't know it was a broken rib, but we did know that he had something in the kind of like that core area that was really hurting him, and he was more of a game time decision. It kind of came out recently, and people are acting like that's new news, but we knew that back then. Like we knew he was really hurt heading into that game, and it kind of affected some of his throws. We knew that. But yeah, that first play, man, he got hit hard. Croc, talk to me about the pass rush. Do we have another pass rusher? So, Steve, man, you a little late. You should have came on here right away. I talked about the pass rush first and talked about how Kinlaw. I talked about a lot about Kinlaw when we first got on here. So you have to go back, kind of listen to that. We talked about Drake Jackson and what it's looking like. But right now, and even I talked about Brock Purdy getting touched, right, while throwing the ball. Not supposed to touch quarterbacks, knocked the ball out of his hand. The silver lining there is Cleveland Farrell beating more around the edge, getting to the quarterback on 4th and 2 is a key down in the key situation there. Knocked the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands. Don't touch the quarterback, but I like that you got to the quarterback. All right, just keep my guys safe. Keep my guys safe. Where's your studio, Croc? I remember you doing a show elsewhere. Keep thinking I'm tuning into a cooking show. No, so my wife and I we got a townhouse in Stockton, but I will be back in Arkansas. I don't know when I'm going back to Arkansas because I need to go. I need to go back. I have my business. I got my gym, but the 49ers have practices against the Raiders next week. I want to be there so I can report everything that's going on there. I was invited by Charles Woodson's people to represent the 49ers at his event, and he has an event Saturday leading up to the preseason game. So Charles Woodson invited me. Oh, come on, man. Let's go. Let's go. All right. But yeah, I see all that to say. I don't know when the hell I'm going back to Arkansas, but I have a home out there that we own, and I'll be back out there soon. Appreciate the comments coming in. How is Jair Brown looking? Do you think he can start week 1? Uh Start week 1? I don't know because you got Tayshaun Gibson, like he's doing good. Talanoa Hufanga, he's doing good. So no, I don't think he can start week 1. Here's the only way he can start week 1. And we've seen the 49ers do this one other time. They did it with if y'all remember, George Kittle. So George Kittle originally, he kind of wasn't the starter, but George Kittle, they drafted him in the 5th round, and all of a sudden they're like, this kid, George Kittle, he's kind of got something. We kind of got something with this kid. So what did they do? They said, you know what? Vance McDonald, you were the starter, but we're going to trade you. And they got some decent capital back for Vance. I don't remember, was it like a 3rd round pick or some 4th round pick? But they traded Vance and George Kittle. All right, it's your turn. You're the guy. And I wonder if they could do something like that with Tayshaun Gibson, where Tayshaun Gibson obviously made a lot of plays for the 49ers last year, a lot of interceptions. He made a lot of interceptions throughout his career. I want to say 32 career interceptions. He already had his interception during practice. He picked off Brock Purdy. So it's like, okay, this guy, he's continuing to make plays. But if Jair Alexander just shows, like, I am ready, all right, I'm ready to go, let's do this, then I can see a scenario where they're like, all right, Gibson, we're going to cut you, let you go. Maybe we'll bring you back. But Jair Brown, you're our starting guy. I don't anticipate that. But the safety room is a little crowded because you have some guys that are just guaranteed going to make it, right? Like Odom, special teams, going to make it. Talanoa Hufanga, going to make it. Jair Brown, because you're our 3rd round draft pick, like you're going to make it. So now there's only one other spot. And I'd assume that is Gibson unless they want to keep one more guy. But I don't see that happening unless they're like, well, we like this other young guy. So Gibson, we can let you go. Keep some of these young guys. We're younger, a little cheaper, and we'll have to guarantee your salary for the whole year. So I don't anticipate that. If I had to guess right now, the safety position is pretty locked up with Gibson as your starter, Hufanga as your starter, Jair Brown as a backup, Odom as your special teams ace who can fill in. If I had to guess, that's what I would say. That's what I would say. All right, here we go. Got some more super chats here. Don't worry, we're gonna get to the quarterbacks. Yannick Ngakwe. We will we should sign another pass rusher? Should we sign another pass rusher, Steve? I say right now they're probably good. And I don't know what Ngakwe is looking at. I don't even know why he's available. The fact that Ngakwe is available, that should be alarming. But why hasn't nobody looked at him? Now we've seen this in the past with Clowney. But I think it was more like Clowney was just like, I'll wait and I'll just go to the right situation. I think Ngakwe is waiting to be signed, and people are like, just hold up. Because again, remember, a veteran, if he's on your roster, let's say that last week of preseason, the veteran's on your roster, and then he plays week 1, his contract is guaranteed for the rest of the season, whatever that is. Now, if you wait past week 1 or you sign a guy week 1, then you can cut him at any time and nothing is guaranteed. So sometimes with some of these veterans, they want to wait so that they don't have to guarantee to do his contract for an entire year. All right, we got Jimmy Eason. Is Brock physically big enough to go 17-game season? What's for dinner? Not sure what my wife is cooking, but whatever it is, I'm gonna eat it. All right. But as far as Brock being physically big enough, he's not. Like if you look at Brock on the field when I'm watching him at practice, he's small, but he's not like skinny. All right. So yeah, he's like 6 feet tall, maybe 6'1". All right, which I say like he looks small and it's like I'm 6'1", 6'2". All right. But he's 6'1", 6 feet, 6 foot tall, but he's like built a little thicker, you know what I'm saying, with his legs. I mean, we've seen the pictures with the quads and all that type of stuff. So he is stout. He's not like this scrawny guy. So I think he's big enough, right? Now, he's not, you know, I'm trying to think of like a big, Josh Allen or something, or even like a guy who's not too much taller than him, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, 6'1" ish, right? But Jalen Hurts also is like 230. He's just built different. So I don't think he's as thick as that, but I think he's fine. I think he's fine. Again, the hits, the ribs, and I don't know how much of y'all watched the quarterback show. Kirk Cousins, he was in a lot of pain, a lot, right? So, I mean, just getting beat up. I mean, like the ribs are tough because you're taking these hits, you're exposed, you're throwing the ball, and then somebody hits you on the ear, drives you into the ground. Like, bro, that's tough. All right, that's tough. So the ribs, I don't think that has anything to do with how big you are. When he hurt his elbow, elbow gets hit while you're throwing the ball. I don't think that has anything to do with how big you are to hold up for a 17-game season. There's a lot of smaller quarterbacks in the NFL. As a former player, what do you guys say and think about this QB stuff going on? All right. So when I was with the Jets, again, and I wasn't there for like the entire year, but there was a quarterback battle with Geno Smith and Mark Sanchez. Geno Smith was drafted. We were rookies together. Mark Sanchez was this guy who went to multiple AFC championship games on the back of the run game and the defense, and then kind of dwindled off a little bit when some of those weapons started disappearing. And that's my worry, right? We don't bring up Mark Sanchez in his rookie year when talking about Brock, but like that's my worry. That's my worry. Like people forget that Mark Sanchez went to back-to-back AFC championship games. Back-to-back. Rookie year, second year. And it was off the heels of, man, they had, what's his name? Sean Green. They had that running back. Then they had Tomlinson. And, man, they had, that defense. It was number one defense. People forget about that. All right, but anyways, as far as the quarterback battle going on, you had Geno Smith, you had Mark Sanchez, and I legit did not I can't remember or recall one time having any type of conversation about the quarterback position. Not once. Or the battle that was going on. Not once. Now, I was an offensive player. I can call my guy Joe Collins right now. Joe Collins might have a different perception of it. I can call my guy my guy Mayo. Mayo might have a different. He was a receiver, but on the defensive side of the ball, never thought about it at all. It just was not a conversation. But my guys that were receivers, they might tell you something a little different. Maybe one day I'll get Joe on there and be like, "Hey Joe, man, you were in the middle of that quarterback competition. Like, what were y'all saying?" Geno did punch somebody, but that was like the next year. Or excuse me, he got punched by somebody. All right, here we go. Let's continue to read some of these. We got that out the way. All right, quarterbacks. There have been a conversation and a lot of talks about it. I'll give some of my thoughts, and a lot of y'all have heard me, just my thoughts in general, right? But I want to start with some of my thoughts on the quarterback position and the battle that's going on. And then, so I'll talk about that, and then I'll transition into my thoughts on training camp and where it's headed right now. Someone asked about, Brock, being hurt. Is he banged up? Stuff like that. I think he's fine. But we're gonna get into that. All right, but let's break it down in kind of steps. Last year, you said Trey Lance is your starting quarterback. He starts off the season. Obviously, he had a up and down game against Chicago, a game nobody wanted to lose. Did not want to lose that game. He lost. Come out these, back to back scoring red zone appearances against the Seahawks, and he snaps his ankle. All right. From so from the only thing that we can gather, Trey Lance did not play the rest of the year. It was not because, oh man, you just trash, you can't play. It was, man, we were all in on you and you broke your ankle. All right, and I felt like they were going to give him some time. All of a sudden, Brock Purdy comes in later in the year and he balls out. He plays out of his mind. He plays extremely well. And it was like, man, he's doing this thing. Awesome. You got your quarterback. Like, cool. But what about Trey? You did spend a lot of draft capital on him. The draft capital isn't the reason why you should start him over Brock. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Anybody that says that, they are ridiculous. But I was surprised a little bit that there's zero competition. Now, my thoughts on competition. I always felt like there's nothing that Trey or Sam Darnold could do during training camp practices to unsee anything that Brock Purdy did last year in actual real live games, playoff games, stuff on the line, right? Like he did not lose a game that he finished, right? Any game that he played on and finished the game, like the 49ers won, and it's like 8 of them or 9 of them, whatever it is, right? So that's awesome. But also I've seen guys come down to earth for whatever reason, right? Like guys that they start hot, it looks good. You're thinking, man, they can only get better from here. And then, nah, man, it kind of actually sometimes goes the other way. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with Brock, but like I have seen that. And so I just talked about Mark Sanchez, and people forget that Mark Sanchez, back-to-back AFC Championship games. His rookie year, second year, he went to AFC Championship game. One of those times they beat the New England Patriots in the playoffs, right? And if I talk about Mark Sanchez now, you guys are gonna be like, trash. He was weak, right? But I bet Jets fans back then were telling you, like, nah, man, like we went to back-to-back AFC Championship games. We're gonna win a Super Bowl one day with Mark Sanchez. It didn't happen. Okay, now seen other guys, and I've kind of talked about, the Case Keenum, who had an amazing year, but he was bad before, bad after. We talked about Dak Prescott, who started out hot, and now, I mean, very mixed emotions on him, but you paid him a bunch of money, and then it's hard to get other guys, whatever the case is. When I think of Brock Purdy, I just look at like, man, that was awesome what he did. He should be the guy that gets the first reps, right? Like he should be heading into the season like okay, that's our starter. But I was a little surprised that there's absolutely zero competition for him. And I understand in the sense of him being like, hey, he's QB1 right now, but they got to battle it out. We got a guy we did invest a lot in. He didn't play the rest of the year because he broke his ankle, and he's back. He's healthy. He's improved. Brock, you did your thing. Now just go beat him out and just show us you can beat him out again. All right, like just you look great last year. That was better than anything we've seen from Trey Lance. So just be that guy, and you don't have to worry about Trey Lance. And then Trey Lance will handle you or deal with you however we want. But I thought there would at least be like at least fake a competition, right? And then if you get surprised by something Lance is doing, then great. But right now there's zero competition. All right, there's zero competition, and Brock Purdy has the not just freedom but the leash to kind of have his ups and downs, whatever that might look like, and we're going to get into that. All right. Now, Trey Lance. From what I've seen, Trey looks good. Like he looks good. Trey looks like more of what what he looks like. He looks like a quarterback that's developing. Now, one thing we have seen, right? Like today, he still kind of couple throws, probably should complete. He missed them, right? He had that on Sunday. Sunday, bootleg to the right, overdose Debo Samuel, right? Bad miss. But even with like those 3 bad misses or misses, he has looked much better. He looks confident. He's dropping back. He's letting it rip. Now again, I was not there. There was two practices where he only attempted like 4 passes or 5 passes and like wasn't great. I wasn't there, so I can't speak on those. And I've heard different things like just look down, like didn't have the reps, went to the side. He's trying to stay warm, whatever. I didn't see those. So if y'all like, well, what about these days? I wasn't there. I'm only talking about what I've seen, and from what I've seen, he looks much improved, and he looks good. Random miss, but outside of that one random miss or so of practice, he's been very efficient. He's been quick with his decision making. He's been accurate. He has made throws to all levels of the field. I'm still waiting on the bombs. I have not seen the bomb yet, but it looks good. And he's in competition with Sam Darnold, and we'll talk about what that competition looks like as well, because I think Sam Darnold has looked good up until today. Today, not a good day for Sam Darnold, but um, up until today, I mean, Sam Darnold has looked good. So I say all that to say Brock Purdy, who, depending on what you're looking for from him, it's been a little weird. When it comes to just it being a plus that he's out there throwing the ball, then Brock Purdy, like, you're excited because he's out there and it's like, man, this is a guy that's just recovering from an injury, you know, and now he's kind of in this spot where you have to lead this team and you just want to see him on the field. And I would say that, like, that's awesome. Like, man, he's out there. That's awesome. And you see those reports where, I mean, there was one practice, it was like 2-9 in team, but that's not the storyline. Like, the storyline is, man, he's out there and that's exciting and that's cool and everybody should be excited about that. He's a little rusty, got to shake off the rust. Understandable, right? His first practice in the second training camp practice, that was his first time practicing with his team since the Philadelphia Eagle game. So if he's maybe, a little off or a little, not, up to speed with everybody or, whatever, like, that's understandable. I would say from what I've seen from Brock Purdy, uh, he's throwing a lot of interceptable balls. Like, he's throwing a lot of, he's putting the ball in harm's way a lot every practice, multiple times. He's had some weird throws. I was a little critical, like on plays where you do kind of, especially down the field, you got it. And there were some people that kind of spun it into a positive because there was a pass interference called. But it's like, why are we why are we focused on the pass interference when Brandon Ayuk had the defender beat by 5 yards? And you underthrew it so bad that he had to come to a complete stop. And since he had to stop, the DB just ended up running into him. And they're spinning like, well, yeah, that was one of his incompletions, but he threw it out there. Now they got the penalty. Well, yeah, but they had a walk-in touchdown if he throws it out there. And then on top of that, he one-hopped a ball, throwing it out. He threw an interception that hit Dre Greenlaw between the numbers. Today, multiple interceptable throws as well. So those are things right there that, and we see Brian Hernandez said, or he said he did that all season, and he did, and teams weren't able to capitalize on it. We watched multiple playoff games where he did that. We watched regular season games, he did that. And there are people that throw interceptable balls. I don't know if anybody throws more interceptable balls than Patrick Mahomes, but he kind of throws so hard that they end up getting dropped. All right. Brock Purdy doesn't throw as hard, so you're more inclined to just catch it, even though there were 2 drops today between Drake Jackson and Diamador Lenore. If you can make up for it, great. And we saw what he did last year. But again, it's just interesting that the way that some of the things are being reported, they show a completion percentage. And I would say on some of those, especially on Monday, he got sacked on half of those. Like, half of those he got sacked and threw a check down. Now, he has had some good throws. Man, there was a beautiful throw to the sideline to Deebo Samuel where it was kind of there was a blitz, and he's kind of fading back, and he throws it kind of across his body, kind of flips it out there, and throws a perfect pass to Deebo Samuel, and that was great. Uh, um, there was another one, a really good one to Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey just left Fred Warner, just left him out of here, and had him beat by 5 yards. Boom, hit him in stride up the seam. Bootleg to the right, hit a receiver in the flat. Like he's done some good things, but there's just things where it's like, is that just kind of him? Is that still kind of him? So we still got 6 weeks, right? And I saw the other one. You said it's just practice. Hey, he threw interceptable balls in games that I thought would have got picked off. He had made some terrible decisions. Some stuff he got away with. In practice right now, he's throwing interceptable. So it might not just be practice. It might just be who he is. He's going to throw interceptable balls. Can he continue to play at the level he played at last year to overcome that? And if he can, awesome. But it's not just a practice thing. We saw it in games. Like we saw it. Like he threw 2 balls to guys early in the Seahawks playoff game. He threw another ball to a safety in the Seahawks game in Seattle that hit Diggs in the chest and he dropped it. He threw the ball to Trevon Diggs in the Dallas Cowboy game early in the red zone. Like, it's not just practice. He throws interceptable balls. All right. So outside of that, if he continues to be as efficient as he is, and obviously he has a lot of playmakers there and they help and you're winning games, then yes, it does not matter. But I'm just saying, it might be something to watch for. And my thing would be like, kind of, why does that happen? All right. We got a question here. The third string All Pro. Didn't Manning throw 28 interceptions as a rookie? Yes, but it's a different league now. When Manning threw 28 interceptions, which I mean, obviously like that was a lot, like the most ever as a rookie or whatever. But everybody threw in that era. Everybody's throwing 20 plus interceptions. People don't throw that anymore. Like they don't throw that many interceptions anymore. I think Jameis Winston did, and you don't want to be compared to Jameis Winston. We got Daryl Smoggy says, Croc, when Purdy looks bad, why are people saying he's rusty? And when Lance looks good, people say he needs to be traded. Keep it real. Please, if Purdy is not good enough, just say it. No, I don't think that Purdy's not good enough. That's not, no. I think Purdy, I don't know. And that's kind of my main thing, right? Like, he played very well last year. Can you do it again? If he does it again, then he's more than good enough. Will he do it again? I don't know. I think that the way that, and again, I've talked about before, the way the 2 guys are covered, drastically different. In the sense of if Trey misses that flat route, I'd say there's more stink about Trey Lance missing a flat route throw where he just misses than Brock Purdy throwing a bunch of interceptable passes. And that's the part that's a little weird to me. But I do think that he is, I mean, I think he's good enough. But we're going to find out this year. We're going to know if he's good enough. We're going to know that. Brock Purdy was the only QB option on a really good team. He was. And now, right now, they still have him as a really good option with 2 quarterbacks who I think are practicing very well. And we haven't talked a whole lot about Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold, I think he's practicing well. Outside of today, Sam Darnold has practiced very well. Purdy's IQ is not Manning's level. I would say Manning's IQ maybe wasn't Manning's level when he threw 28 interceptions as a rookie. So, I don't want to, try to big up one guy to put down another guy. But appreciate everybody in the chat right now. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Got over 230 of y'all in there. Run those likes up. And again, Underdog Fantasy. This show is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Download the app or go to underdogfantasy.com. Use promo code Crocky and they'll double your deposit up to $100. So what does that mean? If you put $50, then they'll match your deposit and give you $50 more to play with. If you do $100, then they'll match your deposit and give you another $100. Now you got $200 to play with. If you do $300 on your initial deposit, they're still only going to give you $100. So Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. Download the app or go to the website right now. Download the app. All that good stuff. Let's go. Yeah. I'm looking at the chat, seeing what y'all talking about. Um, I take misses that don't lead to turnovers than turnover worthy plays, and I agree. I agree. Hopefully, we could just have like a natural conversation, right? Like when I'm out there and I'm watching, and he maybe I see a little weird thing, and I turn to somebody and I have like a normal conversation about like, man, you see that pick? Like, what do you think about that? Like, that's what I want here. I know everybody gets so up in arms with these the quarterbacks in general for whatever reason. Um, I have no idea why everybody gets so mad, but you know, hey man, like they're fine. They're fine. I think they'll both be okay. I'd say this is the best though. This is the best version of Lance that I've seen. And I see Jedi say he struggles to hit passes in the flat. That's an eighth grade throw. Hey man, he missed somehow, some way, but then he comes back firing and he doesn't hit some high level throws as well. And if you look at just his completions, which they're mostly downfield, like we're talking about, you know, 15 to excuse me, 5 to 25 yards. Like these are the throws that Lance is consistently like he's hitting them. And that should be exciting. Like you would think, like y'all would be like, "Oh man, like that's cool that Trey is hitting those throws." Today he hit one. It was like a 25-yard like strike. Like he's hitting throws. Yes, from Monday practice they showed the like the one where McLeod. It was hold on, I'll go to it because I'm pretty sure I showed it. All right, but it was one of those throws, and this was during the move the ball period. And it was just like, man, like he could not throw any better, like with the location. All right. Like he's doing these things and it looks good. Where is it at? All right, we got share screen. I'm pretty sure y'all saw this throw, but not this one. I mean, this was good too. Again, we're talking about downfield. Let's talk first of all that one right there. We'll see it. We'll pause it right here. This throw here, they were doing a move the ball they were doing a move the ball drill period, and it was 3rd and 10, and then they manufactured a false start. So manufactured, like they just randomly threw a flag and it's like, all right, I back it up 5 yards. So now it's 3rd and 15, and Trey Lance just throws a strike to Martin for a 14-yard gain. 1 yard short of the first down, but throws a strike. Like he didn't waver, he didn't get flustered. Like they backed him up and he still threw a strike. Like that was good. Another play in that move the ball period was this throw right here, just like ugh. Like it doesn't ugh. So I mean, everybody keeps talking about, oh well, he missed this throw on the flat. This is the best version of Trey Lance I've seen, and he has been good. Now again, I want to preface. I was not there when he had that. Was it completed 1 out of 4 or 2 out of 5, depending on who you talk about. I wasn't there, so that shit I ain't see it. But the other days, man, there's been some good stuff. There's been some there's been some good stuff, and this is the best version of him. And I'd say the tough thing for Trey Lance is he's heading in the right direction, right? Like I ain't saying he's there. I'm not saying he's 100. Like, oh, you gotta start. I'm not saying that, but he is showing improvement. He is he is doing things, and he can't compete for the starting job, and that's got to be tough. I'm not saying give it to him. Make that clear. I'm not saying give it to him, but just the fact that it doesn't matter what you do right now, Trey, you can't compete, and that's tough. That's tough. Who was that playing corner? I see that ain't no Costco worker. Who is that? That's a throw. Regardless of who, okay, let's say that's a Costco. Let's say that's a Costco. Let's say this is a Costco worker. All right. Let's say that this is a Costco worker, as you just said, playing defense here. Regardless, regardless of if it's a Costco worker or not, where is it? Where was it at? I saw, I just saw it. I want to put it up there. I really want to put that up there. I can't see that. Damn it, I'm missing it. All right. Anyways, regardless of if this is a Costco worker or not, that Costco worker had amazing coverage on this rep. He had amazing coverage on this rep. Like, so he could be a Costco worker or not. That does not change the difficulty of the throw that had to be made. All right. So, I mean, we're talking about a guy on the receiver, arm around his waist, other offhand stretched out, trying to long arm it, and he put the ball in the only spot he could. So, again, he might miss that flat, but a lot of other stuff is like this. A lot of other stuff is like this. And, now I think that, and we'll talk a little bit about, we'll talk a little bit about the we have talked. First of all, y'all know about the great stuff that Purdy does. It has been very, very, very well documented, even in practice. All right, but sometimes we don't hear the other context. All right, we don't hear a different opinion. I've kind of voiced mine a little bit, but again, this is not me. I'm trying to present all sides. I have talked a lot about the things that I feel like Brock does very well. All right, but I think these are things that people aren't necessarily really talking about. Okay, and I was like, man, I thought I was seeing taking crazy pills because I was seeing it and I just noted it. Not saying it's this huge problem or issue, but I know I noted it. And then the way that other people are talking about it, it's like there's like zero issue. And I'm like, I mean, you gotta be honest. Just be honest. All right. So I came across this and I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. So my guy KP, and he's a writer, he's a credentialed member of the media for the 49ers. And he wrote this. So we'll just read this. All right. Baby steps for Brock. Purdy's first day of pass looked like a player still getting used to the speed of the game. Now, again, just that first line. That is not from the first day of pass, which was Monday. Everybody else just talked about how amazing Brock was. All right. This is just a different, just hear me out. I know how y'all get it. This is just a different perspective. So just listen. No matter how you slice it, Brock was likely the worst of the three quarterbacks Monday. But I'm willing to give him a grace period. I understand some don't want to hear the rust word, but it's evident that he's not comfortable yet. On his first pass, on his first attempt, Purdy fumbled the ball as he was attempted a pump fake. All right, so he went to pump fake the ball, and the ball came out of his hand. All right, so now I don't know if he has like the biggest hands or not, but he went to pump fake and the ball came out. I couldn't tell. I thought somebody batted the ball down, but he went to pump fake. The ball came out of his hand. All right. Purdy fumbled it. All right. On the ensuing drop back, Purdy underthrew Debo Samuel, who had a step on Quantrez Knight. But Knight broke up the pass thanks to a poor throw. There was another throw later on where Purdy underthrew Brandon Ayuk, but was bailed out by a defensive pass interference call thanks to the throw. And I talked about that. Like, that should have been a walk-in touchdown. He underthrew it. Should have been a walk-in touchdown. All right. Purdy wound up holding on to a ball longer than he should have on a few reps. It's one thing to practice throwing the ball on air, but it's another with a speedy defense out there. Purdy was the quarterback who found McCaffrey down the seam, but his indecisiveness led to those sacks and also an interception. George Kittle ran a corner route, and Greenlaw read it the entire way. Purdy didn't see Greenlaw. He jumped in front of it, intercepted the ball. All right. At one point, Purdy was 3 of 7 with an interception, a fumble, and a couple of sacks. Purdy had a similar play where he fumbled, but Cleveland Farrell received a talk from Kyle Shanahan for coming too close to the quarterback, which is understandable. Let's just say Farrell won't make that mistake again. All right. And then lastly here, so a tough day at the office for Purdy. This is one practice. If his inconsistency becomes consistent, then I start to worry. But there's a great chance we see Purdy revert to the quarterback we saw during the second half rather than a player on the field today who seemed unsure of himself. I'll take it. He'll have an opportunity to do so, which is important. Purdy took 25 reps compared to 17 by Lance and 19 from Darnold. All right. So I say all that said, we don't have to kill the messenger there. We don't have to think that someone's being overly critical. It is just practice. And this is what practice is for, to work out the kinks. So hopefully Brock just continues, get in the rhythm, shake some of the rust off, and return back to what we saw last year. My biggest thing for not letting it be a competition at all is you have to assume he will get back to what he was last year. So that is the question. A lot of people aren't worried about it. I say we'll see. I say we'll see. All right, all right. QB competition stress got Lance losing his hair. Yeah. I think Lance was losing his hair before he became a 49er. Simple motions and the corners were lost. Basic 7-on-7 coverage bust. Brock is going against the best defense in the NFL is not going to be Purdy. You know what? It's interesting you say that because nobody said that for Trey Lance last year. All right, but it's not even like the full defense out there right now. Like the Travarius Ward isn't practicing. Gibson barely practicing. Nick Bosa is not even showing up right now. Hargrave, sometimes he's in there, sometimes he's not. Like, it's not even like, it ain't like the guys like that. Not all of them. Not all of them. Croc, keep it hood. Trey looks better than Brock. I did just say that it's not all the first team guys, but there are a decent amount of first team guys out there. So there is a difference between going against first group and going against second group. There is a difference. When you're playing against 49ers defense, like there are guys, and then you're playing against some guys who may not make the roster, there's a difference. So Sunday Trey went with the first group, and he went against the first team, and he actually did look good. But I can't really compare I don't want to try to pin them against each other because of that. I would say if you just say Trey Lance with the twos against the twos compared to Brock Purdy with the ones against the ones, I would say Trey probably looks more impressive to me in the practices I went to. Okay, I got to make sure that I throw that in there. All right, but so yeah. If you just trade with the twos versus twos, or Brock Purdy with the ones versus ones, I'll probably take Trey and what it looks like. But you can't, leave out that context of the first team defense. Croc, do you expect Purdy to play versus the Raiders? Gotta be no, right? Nah, I don't expect that at all. He will practice against them though, and that will be his game reps. So that's what I expect. I expect Brock Purdy to get a lot of reps against the Raiders defense and will not play in the preseason game. We got some funny people in here in the chat right now. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's in here right now. Did I get to everything? Here we go. Croc. When Purdy looks bad, people are going to say it's rusty. Lance looks bad. People say we talked about that. Brock Purdy was the only quarterback option, and we talked about that as well. All right. So go ahead, man. Listen back to this, man. We talked about the other positions. We talked about the pass rushers. We talked about Javon Kinlaw. We talked about Dre Greenlaw and what he's doing. I talked about some receivers that I felt like were standing out. Guys like Conley. People aren't really talking about him. Can he make this team? He's going with the second group. I pay attention to groupings. Second group for him. Where is he out on special teams? Pay attention to those things. All right. Ronnie Bell. I was a guy who wasn't very high on him coming out of college at Michigan, but I was watching him. I paid close attention to him doing indies and what it looks like. He's doing very well. All right, so go back, listen to the whole thing. I also will put this on the audio version, so check your audio stuff in about an hour. It should be up on Spotify, Apple, whatever you listen to your podcast. All right, so with no further ado, we are going to get up out of here. I appreciate everybody that tuned in today. Hit the like button and
Subscribe to this video.
yeah. I gotta eat. Wifey cooked some dinner. All right, I hope everybody has a good night, great night, all that good stuff. Underdog Fantasy promo code Crocky. Download the app or go to Underdog Fantasy right now. All right, no W deposit up to $100. Hope y'all have fun listening to this. I have fun talking to y'all. No guest tonight, but maybe tomorrow I'll be at practice Thursday and maybe Friday. We're gonna get into more of this. Till then, I'm out. Peace.